I had them all down before I dial up. How they came and they on top and I'm a mile up. I had them all down before I dial up. How they came and they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line after we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for they prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. I had them all line before I dial up. How they came and they on top when I'm a mile up. I had them all line before I dial up.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Luqmans Nation in Black Power Media.
The most dangerous show in social media on the most dangerous platform of social media. Yeah.
It is Dope Friday date night with the Luqmans, your favorite. We hope we are now your favorite.
Aunt and uncle.
Aunt and uncle. What are we calling ourselves?
Auntie and uncle
now?
of the revolution.
The Pan-Africanist auntie and uncle.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. We hope that we are your favorite Pan-Africanist auntie
But
and
that'll
uncle.
make you have two names.
What?
Because you've been dubbed the People's Prophetess.
This is true.
Right?
Thank you, Dr.
Right?
CBS.
So you got the People's Prophetess and the Auntie of Pan-Africanism.
I am the Pan-Africanist auntie,
Right.
People's Prophetess.
Right.
And this is Pan-Africanist Uncle Baba Luqman.
Exactly. Yep.
Welcome to Luqmans Nation and Black Power Media. Hope your Friday has been productive. Hope you are relaxing and enjoying the end of. I hope your week was not terrible. Ours was busy.
Ours was busy
as usual.
Yeah, it was great.
But busy in a good way. We're not complaining. Look, before we get into the shenanigans, let's get the business out of the way. If you're not a member of Black Power Media, please join Black Power Media. There's a join button right there on the YouTube page. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to Black Power Media. And you can find Black Power Media and support on a regular basis on Patreon, patreon.com/Black Power Media. What else is there? Oh, yeah, share the video.
Share the video.
Like,
that's right.
Hit the like button. You should not be watching if you're not hitting the like button. Don't misbehave that way.
Exactly. We're here. But what I mean to say is the fact, please just don't come on our platform just to be entertained. I know that a lot of us do. We show up for the entertainment. But this is really a movement. So, this is what we're about, a movement. And also check out the merch, because I think we got some merch, right, going on.
Do we?
On BPM.
I think that's in the works.
I think I saw perks, I think if you're a member, there might be
a member, you get perks.
Exactly.
And right now the perks are that you get members only broadcasts.
Right.
Dr. CBS is planning another Black Radical Brunch for members only. Jared Ball is planning a members only broadcast. We are planning a members only broadcast. There is a new show that just premiered earlier this week.
Real Talk
with Sundiata Chajawa. You've got to check that out.
Wow,
it's really, really wonderful.
I saw the launch. I watched the launch and the stream after that.
Right.
And wow. You definitely come away from that stream knowing a lot more. I'm telling you.
A lot more. We're surrounded by some really, really incredibly knowledgeable, dope people.
Also, Black Alliance for Peace. We got something coming up, right?
Yes, we do. But before we get to the Black Alliance for Peace thing, we got to shout out Kalanji Changa's interviews this
Yes.
past week. You've got to go back. Look, if you've gotten to Friday and you haven't checked out all of the content on Black Power Media, take some time in your downtime on the weekend and check out this content. It's some really, really good stuff. It was a great interview.
Yeah, it was.
With a tribute to Gil Scott-Heron.
Yes,
and
yes,
just
yes.
amazing,
Just
amazing
birthday
stuff.
just passed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So yes, Black Alliance for Peace, Ricky Ryan. Oh, let's shout out our family that's here already. David Silberg, what's going on? Good to see you, Leah Boggs, Deborah Rodriguez, Ricky Ryan, Del Sendero.
You got DS, David Silver.
Yep. Love Mifro. Welcome everybody. No, not merch yet, Ricky. You cannot get a members only jacket yet, but you do get members only perks.
Right.
Yep. All right. So Black Alliance for Peace. It's been really, really busy for Black Alliance for Peace in the past few months,
and we love it. We glad.
We love it.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, we are members of Black Alliance for Peace. We're also members of Pan African Community Action. We are in community with the editors of Hood Communist, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, the Ujima People's Progress Party in Maryland, the Virginia Defenders.
Shout out to Phil Waledo.
We don't fuck around in here. We are surrounded by people who are doing the work wherever they are in a lot of different areas. So
we were the first not fucking around coalition before the not fucking around coalition.
Come on now.
We were actually the first, right?
Without the weapons.
Without the weapons. Our weapons was our intellect and the way that we speak truth to power.
Yes. Oh, speaking of speaking truth to power, I gotta take a minute to talk about this.
Okay.
Monday, Twitter, in their infinite lack of wisdom and totalitarian anti-Black bullshit, suspended, apparently indefinitely, without any explanation whatsoever, the Hood Communist account. They also targeted the All African People's Revolutionary accounts, 2 of their accounts, but I think they may have reinstated the 2. Ricky, let us know if that's not true. But Hood Communist is, as of this date, still suspended from Twitter. You cannot access the Hood Communist Twitter account, which would mean that you wouldn't be able to get the content that they would normally post on Twitter from Hood Communist from their blog. However, you can subscribe to the Hood Communist newsletter. You can get it in your email every week when it comes out. Go to hoodcommunist.org, right, Ricky? And I think, let me check and make sure.
But I believe you're right. I think that's what it is. But this is something that we
yes.
Yeah, is that it?
Let me make sure. Yes, it's hoodcommunist.org, and subscribe to the newsletter. I'm going to drop the link right there in the chat so you can see it. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can
Ricky
see it.
Ricky said it's still suspended.
It is still there. The Hood Communist is still suspended on Twitter. Get the newsletter, get the blog in your inbox every week by signing up on hoodcommunist.org. Do not let Twitter's ban keep you from accessing this really, really critical information from a really, really, really critical source. So
true that.
Yeah, and by the way, fuck Twitter. All right, so there. All right, now Black Alliance for Peace.
Yeah, what's up with our people over at BAT?
So, it's the 4th anniversary of the organization.
I just go where you tell me. I think that's what it is, right?
I think so. I think Black Alliance for Peace.
I just go where you tell me.
I think Black Alliance for Peace has been in existence for 4 years.
Yeah, if you say
think
that's what you say.
And and the organization has grown. Just the growth in the past few months has been pretty impressive, and that's because of the organizing work we've been doing.
Yes. Shout out to Ricky Ryan and all the crew that's just that's about it for real.
For real. I mean, whether it is actions in solidarity with the people of Haiti struggling for their democracy, which we participated in last week. What day was that? This week. What day was that? Tuesday?
Monday. Didn't we go Monday?
It was Tuesday. Yeah. It was Tuesday, and then the week before that, we were out in solidarity with the Amazon workers trying to organize a union down in Bessemer, Alabama. We were out in front of the Whole Foods on what is that, P Street in DC, and had some interesting interactions. The webinars that they do all the time, the political education that is disseminated from that organization, constantly lifting up the international connections that we need to make in this country with the struggle for Afro-descended and all working class and poor and oppressed people around the world.
Shout out to John Mubaraka and all Margaret Kimberly and everyone that's connected to Black Alliance for Peace. I also like to make this public announcement too with PACA, Pan African Community Action, right? The Assata Shakur.
The Assata Shakur study group.
Could you tell more about that?
The Assata Shakur study group is on the first and third Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock, which is why on those Wednesdays we try to do our show at 5 o'clock so we don't miss that study group. And normally you have to be a member of PACA, but you can sign up for the study group because everything is virtual now. And when they were in person, you could just come on in. So we're going to start providing a link to the study group for you all to participate in, because they are really, really, really informative. They dive deep into some topics and issues, and the folks in PACA do a lot of work putting those together. Incredibly knowledgeable. And here's the part we love about it, which is why you don't see me and Baba too much in the forefront in a lot of this stuff, is because they're all young. They're all young. Yeah. We let the young folks do the work, and we're just like advisors and provide support.
We're there. I mean, they see us, but we know where we fit in. We stay in our lane. Also, like I see in the chat. Thank you, David, for this. David also reminded us to catch Ricky and Anye on the Black Myths podcast, right? And being the living Black myth myself, I am the living Black myth. So yes, let's support. That's what we're about. We're this is not so many of us have gotten into this clout chasing, and thinking that look, it's all about me, it's all about what I'm doing, it's all about this. But when you have a movement, when the movement that we have, which comprises of a lot of components, we're here to lift each other up, and that's what we're here. We're not here to be tearing each other down. We're not here to try to boost ourselves up by trying to crap on everybody else. I mean, we are all about this work, and trust me, I when we go to rallies and demonstrations, we see the same people,
all the time.
So we have a lot of sincere people who are about that work. So we're just about uplifting what they're doing and the platform that they're doing, because we all benefit from what each of us are doing.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, and I forgot what I was going to say. So I think that means we should get to the news.
We should get to the news right here in good old DC.
Yeah. So if you didn't know what was going on right now, if you haven't watched the news today, just a few hours ago, there was an attack on the Capitol Police here at the U.S. Capitol. Again. Again. That should let you know how concerned we are about that. Anyway, some person who they gave the guy's name, but they haven't shown his picture yet, and it's kind of a toss up.
Well, because we know he's not Black because they haven't shown his picture. Right. So we know he's not Black.
What's his name? Noah Green.
It's something I don't know.
I think his name is Noah Green. Drove his car into the into some cops down at the U.S. Capitol. One cop is in the hospital. One cop is dead. The suspect was shot and killed. He died in the hospital. Now get this. Then we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because honestly, we're just telling you this because it's the news.
Right.
And we're talking about the news today. But Oh, Ricky said they showed a picture. He's black. Well, damn it to hell. There goes our. You know what? Look, this country is so
damn,
fucked
just
up.
broke our streak, didn't he?
I know.
Just broke our streak.
This country is so fucked up that it's messing up the minds of the black people
Yep.
who do white people like shit. Anyway, this whole it is. You know, the Capitol Police interim chief, a black lady, you know, got on there and talked about how, you know, we need to keep our officers in your prep. It's like these people are not our officers. I remember how the Capitol Police treated us when we protested down in Lafayette Square.
I remember how they treated me when I was coming to pick you up from Union Station. And they pulled me over for a ticket and treated me like I was.
That's right.
Yeah, remember that?
I will never. I forgot about that.
And you had the. I mean, I was about a couple of blocks away from you at Union Station, and I couldn't get in touch with you because they wouldn't let me use the phone and nothing like that. And I was so angry and so frustrated because it was a hot summer day, and you had to walk like 2 or 3 blocks just to get to where I was at.
Right, because and why? Because of an expired registration.
An expired registration. Can you believe that?
That's all.
DC cops saw me and let me go, and DC cops saw me, man, and even tipped their hat to me and stuff. And I'm not saying, look, you know, I know that, you know, as a responsible motorist, I should stay on top of that stuff. But you know, truly, DC police wasn't even sweating. I had a headlight that was out. Along with the expired thing. And DC police wouldn't even stop. But I go around Capitol Police going to pick you up from Union Station. And here they go. And then they had nerve to have an attitude with me because I had attitude with them.
Right,
you
right.
know?
There was the one guy who was the younger guy had the attitude.
Yeah, he had the attitude.
Yeah, the older guy, he was just tired and hot. And he was just like, okay. Look, just pay this ticket and go on about your
business. I was acting like Bill Duke, like behind the car, like remember Bill Duke? Yeah, just look.
Yeah, they had him like behind the truck. This is when we had the big,
the big gray SUV,
the big Ford Explorer, the silver, the gray Ghost that really was on its last.
Yeah, it was on its last leg. We were just gonna ride it till the wheels
fell off. We really did drive that thing till the wheels fell off, just about. And damn Capitol Police had him in the back of the thing, or in the back of the thing. And are you his wife? And the young dude, are you his wife? I'm drenched in sweat. Yes, I'm in the. Well, do you have updated registration? That's what it was. Because I couldn't pull up the insurance app on my phone because I couldn't remember the password because I was so nervous. So they gave us a ticket. Not like they couldn't check the insurance.
No, a ticket is $20. A ticket is $40. A ticket isn't $500.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They gave us a $500 fine for not having proof of valid insurance. The ticket for the expired registration was less than the ticket for, and they could have looked up the insurance information right there. But did they? No. So anyway, So okay. That's what happened in DC today. It's a news story. It's breaking right now. It's still going on. So there you go. We talked about it. Let's talk about this Derek Chauvin trial.
Yeah. Look, let me tell you something. And I ain't ashamed to say it. I've been following this trial like a lot of us have, and I didn't follow it too much today, because I had other things I was doing. But the last couple of days, especially when they did the cross-examination or the examinations of some of the witnesses. And I mean, man, I look, Niagara Falls. I could not hold it back. I mean, to see the trauma that these people obviously went through. I mean, the trauma they went through, the trauma I went through from listening to their stories. And I'm sure many of us who were watching it. You and I watched CNN where Brooke Baldwin broke out crying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's like, man, if you got any kind of humanity in you, there is no way, that this can't affect you. You know what I mean? Even the toughest jokers, man, was, dabbing their eyes. Like my man who they had on the witness stand, the MMA guy. Yeah. Now, he's a tough dude. And he couldn't even hold it back. You know what I mean? So, but this is actually, Jackie, what we seen on in this trial, and I hope that people get this, like white folks who get this and black folks who think they white get this. I'm hoping that you see that this is what we go through every day, and that's not an exaggeration. What those tears when we saw the 60-some-year-old brother named Charles, when we seen the MMA brother, when we seen the two young kids, this what they showed us on camera is the trauma of Black America when it comes to policing. Yeah. This is what we go through.
Yeah, and think about every time something like this happens, everywhere across the country.
Right.
Every time it happens, and then every time a trial happens and people have to testify. And look, I've watched a couple of them because I'm a journalist and I kind of have to keep up with them. Sure. But it's difficult to continue to subject myself to this. And I would just say that, for Black folks who don't have to watch it, don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the prosecution is about to rest. I think they've rested today, and the defense takes over next week, and then we get to see the ridiculous shenanigans of the defense.
Right.
But we've seen their defense strategy. They're going to paint, they tried to paint George Floyd as a out of control drug addict, who was this wild animal that the police couldn't control. But the prosecution, and I'm not even going to say the prosecution, the people who witnessed the public lynching of George Floyd on May 25th of last year painted a very different picture of Floyd than what the defense is trying to paint. Even his ex-girlfriend, who admitted to, yes, we both suffered with substance abuse issues, but, she was very clear that, Floyd never said that he struggled with, any health issues that she knew about, because they're going to, they try to make it seem like, he didn't die from having a knee on his neck. No. He died because he had underlying health conditions and because he was, high on all these different cocktail of drugs. But the thing that has condemned Chauvin and anything could happen. I'm not an attorney. Stranger things have happened. But I don't see this. I don't see a jury finding him not guilty of something. I just can't see it. After those children, the minors who couldn't be shown on screen testified, and the now she's 18, but she was 17 at the time. The young lady whose video went viral. And like you said, the brother who's an MMA fighter,
right,
and the older man who, remember, you heard him trying to, tell George Floyd, "Hey, get in the car, man, get in the car." There's this extended conversation that we never knew about that he had with Derek Chauvin. Right. And all these people are on the stand, and they are describing how they watched that man kneel on George Floyd's neck, not for 8 minutes,
right? Which is what all of us, which was what we all were made to accept, because that's all they said. Right. Now it turns out Chauvin kneeled on that man's neck for 9 minutes, more than 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes after he was handcuffed. Right. So the trauma of these people having to recount what they saw, and also from these children conveying the guilt, the store clerk. Oh, the store clerk, yeah. The store clerk who said, "Look, I wish I hadn't have taken the $20 bill. None of this would have happened if I hadn't taken the $20 bill. But I thought I was doing him a favor by just taking it. And the store policy was that if somebody passes a $20 bill, it comes out of our paycheck. And I was just going to take it." Yeah, he said that. I was just going to take it. And, I thought I was doing him a favor. All these people express guilt at having not done more. Some of these were children. Yeah. And they expressed not being able to sleep, laying awake at night, wishing they could have done more. Now, this is now these are people who live in the city that already have, or has, I should say, a history of police brutality.
A long
Yeah.
history.
So I mean, so they didn't just become traumatized when George Floyd was murdered. I mean, Philando Castile was not too long before him, and so I mean, so this is something that Minneapolis had been putting up with for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that is the reason, aside from the egregiousness of the way George Floyd was murdered. I mean, it's one thing, and I know this is going to sound a little weird, but it's one thing for a cop to shoot somebody saying, oh, he was reaching for something and I was afraid for my life. It's another thing to kneel on somebody's neck for damn near 10 minutes after they're handcuffed and laying on face down on the ground.
You can't take a bullet back once you shot it off, but you can take your knee off somebody.
Come on. I mean, that right there.
Right.
And I think that's why Chauvin was fired so quickly. And I think that from the testimony today that we saw from the head of homicide for more than 12 years in Minneapolis, the guy's name is Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman. He testified today, and he said some pretty damning things that I don't know how this is going to go Chauvin, I don't see how he's going to go unscathed after a cop. And he wasn't the first cop, because another cop said pretty much the same thing, Chauvin's supervisor.
Right.
But this guy, Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman, the head of homicide for more than 12 years, testified that Derek Chauvin's actions violated policy by pressing his weight down on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes while the man was handcuffed and in a prone position. He said the police are not trained to kneel on a person's neck. Now, the defense argument is that Chauvin was just...
Oh, he was trained.
Yeah, he was just doing what he was trained to do.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If he was doing what he was trained to do, I mean, do you not see how horrible that is?
Right.
I mean, if that's the argument, then you're saying that he was trained to slowly asphyxiate someone to death.
Right.
By kneeling on their neck for 10 minutes until they're dead. That's he was doing.
I can't see any police department training someone with that type of maneuver after the time of the chokehold being outlawed.
Right.
Why would you outlaw the chokehold, which has been outlawed in a lot of jurisdictions for maybe a decade or more, and then all of a sudden, but we're going to replace it with the knee on the neck.
Right, and I mean you can't change the term for that.
Right, right.
Because that's what they do when they ban chokeholds. Because chokeholds are already banned in most states from police procedure. But what they do is they just change the name of it from chokehold to something else. You can't change the name for that. No. So that's the one thing he said. Then he said, once the person is cuffed, the threat level goes down all the way. This is what the police lieutenant said on the stand. He said, how can that person hurt you? You getting injured is way down after a person is handcuffed. Then he said, keeping the person handcuffed and in a prone position restricts their breathing. You need to get them off their chest. If you're lying on your chest, that's constricting your breathing even more. And of course, the defense tries to, make a big deal about how long it was since this guy has been on the street, the last time he was trained. Policing has changed so much since the last time you were trained. And dude was like, the last time I was in a fight was in 2018. What you talking about?
Right. But see, I mean, look, this just shows you the difficulty that the defense have in trying to defend this guy. You know what I mean? According to the laws of this land, he is, he's supposed to have a fair trial, but if you're this guy's lawyer, this just shows you the difficulty of trying. I mean, I'm sure when this lawyer is by himself or when he's with his colleagues or something, I know he's like, look, I mean, damn it. How, I mean, and especially after the witnesses and all. I mean, this guy got a hell of a job on his hand to try. You can't even humanize this guy.
No.
Because even watching him sitting behind the defense table, he's emotionless.
Yeah.
I mean, even behind his mask, so, but I was thinking about something too, because, a lot of people say, and trust me, Darren Chauvin is a racist. I have no doubt about that. But I also feel that there's something else at play.
What's that?
Well, one of the things is that a lot of police officers, especially white and black, I just say police officers because I don't think it's really too much distinguished by race, have a very a deep hatred for black addicts.
Huh.
They have a very deep hatred for black addicts. I mean, very deep. I remember watching this documentary. If you guys haven't seen this documentary, it's about Anthony Sowell. And the guy who was the serial killer up in East Cleveland,
Right.
right? Who buried? He was. I mean, he targeted, crack addicted women and all stuff. It happened a couple of years. He just died last month. Matter of fact, a month or two ago.
Right. That's right.
In prison. Well, there was a guy who was interviewed on the documentary. One of the liquor store owner, Muhammad, some Egyptian guy. I guess he's Egyptian. And he said to the camera, he said, "I wish there was a million Anthony Sowells."
Why?
So the document,
Why?
so the interviewer said, "Well, why you say that?" He said, "Because he was taking out the garbage."
Oh my God.
He said, "These people are garbage." Now here's a guy, right, who has a business in the neighborhood, and these addicts go in there and buy their cigarettes. He has a liquor store; they buy their beer. He's taking money from them. He's doing transactions with them, but at the same time, he sees them as garbage. And so he said, "I wish there was a million Anthony Sowells." So a lot of times, the way and it really basically is, it goes back to the way that black people are seen, like poor black people. How should I say? How the lack of compassion for anything that afflicts us in a negative way. Then there's no compassion there. We've done shows where we gave out the history of how people saw poverty in this country.
Yeah.
When white people were poor, it was more of a compassionate concern that, these people were just down on their luck. We got to do everything we can to help them. In fact, the New Deal and all of these policies under Roosevelt and stuff, even the war on poverty, a lot of this stuff was to address white poverty.
Right.
But especially under Roosevelt, we know that for a fact. And, you could argue about Johnson's administration, but we definitely know that Franklin Roosevelt's administration, all of the New Deal and all of that stuff was basically the government's attempt to alleviate poverty on white people. So that was seen as, this, white folks, they don't, if these circumstances didn't exist, then they wouldn't be like this. But then during the time after World War II, when America was coming to this new economic prosperity, and the working class whites who's went to World War II, or their children went to World War II,
right,
and came back and benefited from the GI Bill and benefited from this new prosperity, and they left black people behind. Then the poverty switched from being majority white to now majority black.
Right, the face of poverty.
The face of poverty, exactly. So you're talking about World War II in the 40s, and then comes the 50s, which is why white people love the 50s so much, because the 50s was during the time when America was at its peak economically. It didn't include us, but for them it was great.
Oh, it was great.
So when they look back at the 50s, it's not because things were great. Well, for a lot of things was great. America was booming at the time, but the boom left us out. So when we go into the 60s and we see that the white flight happened,
right.
So and this is the birth of the mall. So so a lot of businesses fled the inner cities and went out there and followed the white folks out there to Levittown and all that stuff.
That's right.
And the new highways came through. The white folks took the tax base with them. All this other kind of stuff. So now the face of poverty started to become black. And so what happens is now all of a sudden the narrative has changed.
Right.
These people aren't just down on their luck; they're lazy.
Right.
They don't want to work.
They're criminals.
Yeah, they're criminals and all this other kind of, right. And now couple that with the racial unrest of the 60s. So they're not just poor, but they're criminals. They just want to burn things down.
Right.
Everything was taken out of its proper context. So we're still living with that stain today. That stain today. George Floyd was still marked with that stain that preceded him so many decades ago.
Right.
You know, so when you got a person like Chauvin, and trust me, I can't say that I know what was in Chauvin's mind, but it wouldn't be a hard stretch to say that here it is, this black guy who was probably on something, because everybody says that, you know, and here's a guy, 19-year veteran, who probably ran into a bunch of George Floyds, you know, depending on where he patrolled at. And I mean, and then it comes this prejudice and this bias,
Right.
you know, and especially towards black addicts. We spoke on this show the other day about the way that even black people, how we treated crack addicts, how we treated the addicts in our own community. So I mean, so in this climate that we have right now, George Floyd, this is my opinion, was not only murdered because of the racism of Chauvin, but he was also murdered because, you know, of this attitude towards black addicts when it comes to black addicts, as if they, you know, they just don't matter.
And you know what?
Nobody will miss them.
You know what? I think you have a great point. And I think there are 3 reasons. I'm going to add one more reason on to why George Floyd was murdered, aside from the 2 that you pointed out. And it is, you know, the obvious underlying, you know, police, a racist police terrorism and lack of accountability. Because let's not forget that Derek Chauvin, as you said, was a 19-year veteran. He had a long record of excessive abuse complaints, and he actually shot 2 people. And I think he killed 1.
I'm not sure, but he's been a bad apple on the street for a long time.
Exactly. So the Minneapolis Police Department, this last incident, they were like, look, this man we've covered up his shit for too long.
Right.
So he's got to go. But to your point about the way people view black drug addicts in particular, Leah Boggs made a great comment. But George was on opioids. Isn't that supposed to be a white middle class drug? I think that's a great question.
Excellent question.
That's a great question, because when we talk about the opioid crisis in this country, we automatically think of poor white folks.
Yeah.
You know, poor white folks from, you know, West Virginia, Appalachia, Kentucky, or the Rust Belt, you know, the Pennsylvanias, and the, what's the place in New Jersey? Irvington, you know, those kinds of places.
Gloucester, down there.
Yeah, you know, where good manufacturing jobs went away, and we automatically say of white opioid addicts that, you know, they fell into despair because the economy that they relied upon, or that their parents relied upon to propel them to the middle class, disappeared.
Yeah, this wasn't their fault.
It wasn't their fault. It was because manufacturing jobs went away and they couldn't support themselves anymore, and they couldn't access the American dream anymore, and they fell into despair, and they ended up, you know, medicating their pain, and you know, and that's how they fell into. Well, but how is it that the same justification, because that's not an excuse, that's true.
Right.
How is it that the same explanation is never used for black substance abuse victims at any time ever? Because you and I covered that. Yeah, and you just said it. Right. Yeah, because we've already been painted as lazy, as criminal, as you know, amoral anyway. And to Leah's comment, that is also the fact that people think that opioid addiction is just a white person's disease. That's also a design of the white supremacy and the racism in this country. Yeah, and I was also going to add, when I said that we covered this, I was going to say that the reason why they changed the narrative when it comes to us is because of benign neglect. That's right, and we talked about benign neglect a few weeks ago. So if the government was to actually treat crack addiction in the same compassionate vein as they do the opioids, then that means Trump threw $500 billion at the opioid crisis when he was in office, right? That's right. So that meant that once the government declared that this is a health crisis, then the government had to move. They had to act. Mm-hmm.
So, and so when the government found out that, hey, look, our kids are, which is nothing new. White kids always took more drugs than black kids, but they said, but hey, look, this thing is becoming a crisis. So anytime when you have the government, the CDC and the departments of health and all say that yes, this opioid addiction is a crisis, it's a health crisis, it's a health emergency. The government can't ignore that. The government has to act. Trump gave $500 billion. Now, see, when the crack epidemic came through, they couldn't admit that.
Right.
Because, see, to admit that means that the government have to do something.
Right.
And benign neglect was in play.
Exactly.
And benign neglect, and we, look at our I think it was the last couple of shows we did benign neglect, because I don't want to go through it here. But benign neglect was actually, or is actually, a government policy in dealing with black people. So, so that benign neglect is not just when it comes to the things that we think of first, like housing, employment, and all this stuff. Benign neglect means our existence here, period. Benign neglect means it means that the government will be slow to act, or if they act at all, when it comes to the quality of life, when it comes to black people.
Yep. And when the government did respond to the crack epidemic and the heroin epidemic before, what did it respond with? It responded with money, but to build prisons.
Right, exactly. Because this is, and it goes back again that this was always the purpose that black people served in this capitalist economy. Black people were always meant to be fodder for the capitalist economy. So we were even talking about, I think last time you and I was talking about even the so-called gig economy, right? And I forgot what in context with that we were talking about. Well, no, we didn't talk. This was in a video we didn't release yet. But in that video we talked about here how even this plethora of relationship videos and the life coaches and all this stuff. All of this stuff is also how people are profiting off of black trauma, profiting off all of these things. So black people have always been used in this society as fodder to feed the capitalist machine.
Yeah.
You couldn't throw $500 billion at us. They said, oh yeah, we'll address the issue, but if we address the crack epidemic, we'll address it in a way where other people can profit.
Right. And other people means not us.
Right,
ever,
exactly.
Ever. So yeah, so the trial goes on. I think like I said, I think the prosecution rests today. If they don't, they'll rest early Monday. And then
it's the weekend now. They probably did rest.
Yeah, the defense takes over. We'll see what happens. I don't know. What do you think? You're usually pretty good at
Well, I told
things.
you the other day that I think that this trial here is going to be OJ's was the trial of the century. We're in the new century now.
Okay.
So this Chauvin's trial is going to be the trial of this century. So I think that they both hold equal importance.
Okay.
I think that it's not going to be in the same divisive way of the OJ trial, because in the OJ trial it was a little different where you had majority of black people, whether we like OJ or not. It was really our attitude towards the system.
Right.
No, we didn't care too much about OJ. We revoked his ghetto pass a long time ago.
Well, he burned it.
Right. And we wasn't going to give him a new one, even when he requested one. But where you had a lot of white people, so that was more racially divisive OJ's trial than I think this one will be. I think that this trial, because of the nature of it, because of what the role that video plays in this, nobody. There was no video in OJ's trial except him riding down the damn freeway and that slow ass police chase that was happening. But I think that, but with OJ's trial, it was all left up to people's imaginations and people's biases and stuff. But in this case, I think I think people are like, you can't tell us we ain't see what we saw.
Right.
And I think that the only people that's going to be on Chauvin's side are the real diehard racists and deniers that have always existed. That whether no matter what kind of proof you had that this cop murder this man, they would never believe it. So you always going to have those type of people.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't think those people are in the majority. So I think that that Chauvin's going to jail. This is my prediction. He's going to jail.
He's going to prison.
I think, prison, jail. Yeah, he's going to prison. And I think that he has to go to prison, not just because of the crime, but the system itself has to send a message. Because the reason why I say that is they realize that it's not just Chauvin on trial.
Right.
Prior up to Chauvin, all these cops been getting off, and the world is watching.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you said before a couple of weeks ago when we talked about how the United States was embarrassed into signing the 1964 Civil Rights Act because of the embarrassment that it suffered on the world stage because of racism that was experienced by African dignitaries coming on here. So once again, the world is watching. And I don't know.
Well, China just recently threw this stuff up in their face.
China was we talked about it a couple weeks ago. China, or a few days ago, China was gangster. Yeah, just straight. Uyghur Muslims, are y'all serious? Really? With all the killings and genocide that y'all ignore in your country and your history, then get out of here.
Right.
And forget about
it. Yeah.
So that's we'll see what goes on with the trial next week. Yeah, so that's that. Let's see. This comment from AOC, who I don't like. You know why I don't like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Why?
Because she fake as a $3 bill.
Yeah, I mean, she seemed to be, living up to that.
Pretty
much. Living down to it.
I mean, her hustle was good to get elected. I think she had a good hustle to get elected. And,
working for drinks and tips. Yep.
Sit up because you're getting cut off on the video, or come over this way.
Yeah, working for drinks and tips.
But the fact that this chick is on, I'm sorry. Forgive me for calling her chick. I'm sorry.
Better you than me.
This is not our living room. I got to be kind of careful with some of the things I say. This woman is always on Instagram and Twitter doing her videos, cooking and whatnot, and talking about how progressive she is and what Congress needs to do, and on and on and on. And then she tweets ridiculous stuff. Let me see if I can pull up this tweet. Let's see. Let me see if this will work. I think it will. There we go. Come on, Twitter. Oh, I think she took it down.
She took it down?
I think she might have taken it down. And she should have. What her trifling, hypocritical behind the tweet said, what is happening here is not the same as what happened during the Trump administration. Here, meaning what's going on with the people at the border, and specifically the children, where they took babies out of the arms of their mothers. Man, people on Twitter lit her up, they should have. What you mean it's not the same as Trump? You know, the only thing that's different that's going on at the border now between Trump and now is that the cages have plastic sheeting over them.
Oh, well, that's mighty,
You can't even think of a word.
That's mighty white of them. We don't want them to catch COVID.
That's the other thing.
Right.
That's the other thing. They all have masks on.
Oh, see, Uncle Joe, he understands. Uncle Joe understands.
Oh my God! And
we're going to keep them in cages, but we're going to make sure that they have masks.
No, Joe, no, you're not supposed to say that.
Oh, well, no. Plastic.
Well, Joe, no, you're not supposed to say we're going to keep them in cages.
Come on, man.
Read the script, Joe. I mean, and I feel like AOC is indicative of the whole white progressive movement in their hypocrisy. And another way that I think I've seen this week, a way that their hypocrisy has been like exposed. You know how whenever somebody would challenge Bernie Sanders about, democratic socialism, or AOC in particular, about, democratic socialism and what they believe about it, and what country they model their ideals on,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, yeah, and they always say what
Well,
country?
it's two countries.
Which countries?
Canada is one, and Denmark.
Yep,
Yeah.
Denmark or Sweden.
Or Sweden, yeah.
Yes. So, these are people, and I think it was a couple weeks ago when AOC, somebody asked her if, when she talked about socialism, if she meant like Venezuela. And she actually laughed and said, no, I mean like Sweden.
Right.
And whenever Bernie Sanders was asked the question, he'd always bring up Denmark and that kind of thing.
Well, Trump brought it up too, right?
Yeah, I think he did.
Well, Trump said, why can't we have more people from there come here?
Because those are the good immigrants.
Right.
And in that weird way, Trump actually said the quiet thing out loud, because what these white progressives have been saying about the countries that they model their democratic socialist policies after, it really is because they're countries full of white people. And honestly, Denmark just proved it this week, with this story where, let's see if this works. Hopefully
Denmark didn't take it down.
Yeah, hopefully.
Here it is. Yeah.
Hopefully Denmark didn't take their story down. So Denmark this week said that they will limit non-Western residents in their poorest communities. Now, this has been reported by Al Jazeera, which is it's a great source on some things. It's kind of weird on other things. They have this, bizarre anti-Venezuelan kind of slant sometimes, but yeah, that's another issue. Here's the part of this story that is really interesting. Now, this policy is based on a law that was passed in 2018. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see it. Zoom in for you so you can read along with us, so that you don't say that the Luqmans are making things up about those white people in Denmark. They passed a law, in 2018, as part of this program called One Denmark Without Parallel Societies. No ghettos in 2013. 2030, thank you. And a part of their plan to establish this is to limit the number of, quote, non-Westerners in disadvantaged neighborhoods to 50%. And this article goes on to quote the Interior Minister, Kare Dybvak Beck, who said that too many non-Western foreigners in one area increases the risk of an emergence of religious and cultural parallel societies.
We don't want Denmark to become an Islamic state.
He said, and this is even worse, he said, we need to get better at spreading culture so that not all perpetrators of violence live together and reinforce the norms they have been accustomed to. What the fuck? This man actually said that we need to keep people of non-Western cultures from living together because they've all been accustomed to violent norms. And if they live together, then those violent norms are just going to be reinforced, and they're just going to run around and kill all the nice white people.
Yeah, because, coming from, some of the slums of Algeria, I just get this weird urge to just stab people.
So of course,
I mean, my kids can't go to school. They can't. I mean, my Muslim kids can't go to school unless they take their lunch and their bomb at the same time. Kids, don't forget your bomb. All right,
Ahmed, you forgot your suicide vest.
All right, mama.
I mean, this is the way these damn people think. Oh, they're saying the quiet part out loud. So of course, Denmark is being justifiably pilloried for this ridiculousness. And I think the United Nations, yes, various UN bodies have criticized the Danish government's designation of non-Western. How come? Well, because it basically means white people. The effect is that non-Western disproportionately means Denmark's non-white, non-European ethnic populations.
Well, that's what they say. I mean, we we need to go back to what the fear really is.
What is the fear really?
They laughed at Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. They laughed at her when she talked about genetic survival, white genetic survival. They laughed at her, and they said that it was, even people like Yvette Carnell still disparage her. But Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said that one of the major fears of the white populations is being genetically annihilated. This has always been part of their immigration policies, no matter where they settle. And one of the reasons why white people, one of the reasons why they made it their business, no matter where they went, to eradicate the indigenous populations where they went, is not just to take the land, but also to protect their genetic their genetics. Because they understand that they are the embodiment of recessive genes, and that those recessive genes can't overpower nobody of color.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and the founding fathers, their founding fathers knew that, which is why they say, don't get one drop of black blood.
Just one drop.
Yeah, you cease to be white. You know what I mean? So but people laughed at her. People laughed at her when she said that. But these immigration policies, we've seen this practice in the United States with the Chinese ban and all these other bans of people. They never banned people from Ireland. They never banned people from Europe coming here. But it's the same reason why black immigration has never been allowed to take place here.
I'm so glad you mentioned.
Why do you think our population has always been 40%? Because of the lack of black immigration here.
I'm so glad you said black immigration, because don't forget that under Uncle Joe Biden, Haitians are being deported.
Of course they are.
And he's deporting Haitian people to a country that he knows damn well is in the midst of horrendous political turmoil, where people should be allowed temporary protected status that has expired under Trump. He should extend it because of the unrest that the U.S. is fomenting in Haiti by backing Jovenel Moïse, a fucking dictator, another one. But he's not going to. He's going to continue to back Moïse, or at least they're going to cut strings with Moïse and then prop up somebody else who's friendly to the U.S. government, who's going to do the same thing to the Haitian people. But the temporary protective status of Haitians should be extended so that the United States will stop deporting people back to Haiti.
Yeah, right. But getting back to the Denmark thing, there has always been a fear of Europe, of Islamization, or Europe of Islam really spreading in Europe. Now these fears go all the way back to the Crusades.
Really?
Spain was ruled by Muslims for 700 years. So when we talk about this, anti-Semitism has a long history in Europe, and anti-Muslim sentiment has a long history in Europe. So when you have Islamic rule in Spain for 700 years, which is what got Europe out of the Dark Ages, it was Muslim technology and Muslim learning.
Oh, you mean it wasn't white Catholic Jesus?
Nope, it wasn't white Catholic Jesus. But they had, but it was the Islamic knowledge that got Europe out of the Dark Ages. And why do I say that? Europeans didn't know anything about navigation. They didn't know anything. The European was able to navigate the seas based off of Muslim technology. In fact, Columbus's guide was a Muslim. His guide was a Muslim, and so a lot of these ships that wind up going around the world and stuff, looking for a route to China and all that stuff, they were using maps and compasses that were created by Muslims.
Wow.
Yeah. So so when Muslim Spain fell, after the Visigoths took over and Muslim Spain fell, and the Catholic monarchy took over,
Mm-hmm.
they Queen Isabella and Ferdinand and them,
Mm-hmm.
they the Muslims had just lost Spain, so you had all that Muslim
Wow.
technology and stuff that was still there, and so that's why you had countries like Spain and Portugal leading, while Portugal and Spain were leading, were ahead in world navigation, because that's
Wow.
where the Muslims were based at. So so there was always a fear of Islam in Europe. This goes way. This is just not happening now. And
Huh.
so when you see this migration because of the constant destabilization of Africa and Syria, and you have these influx of people from these Muslim countries coming in, those old fears come up again. And knowing that with the amount of these people coming in, now comes the fear of being outpopulated.
Oh, wow. That I did not
Yep.
know that 700 years?
Spain ruled. Islam ruled Spain for 700 years.
Wow.
You
so
know.
this hatred goes deep.
This is it's just like anti-Semitism. Europe has always been anti-Semitic. So so the only time that Jews weren't persecuted in Europe was when Muslims were in charge of Spain, because that allowed. And if anybody had been on our teaching that we did with the Palestinians, Rabbi White said that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So
He did.
the only time that Jews flourished, their scholarship and the community flourished was when they were when they were living under Muslim rule or with Muslims. So the Muslim government of Spain, I think the king of Morocco, the Khalifa of Morocco. I ain't talking about this fake construct they got now, but the Muslim kingdom of Morocco had Jewish advisors. Yeah, so
Wow.
Maimonides, and I think that's
Right.
They all flourished under Muslim rule in Spain, as the same as Christian scholars, Saint Aquinas and all of them.
Right.
They all came up under Muslim Spain, under the Muslim rule at the time, because Islam was very tolerant of the Christian and Jewish faith, what they call the Ahli Kitab, or people of the book. So so they viewed them as brother religions. So those people were allowed to flourish, and and it wasn't until the Christians took over that you had the Inquisition. So
imagine that.
Yeah, so this anti-Muslim sentiment has a long history in Europe.
Oh wow. That is really some really dope history. And if you want to get more of that, our church did do a teach-in last week.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. On why communities of faith should be involved in Palestinian solidarity. And we had our pastor, Christian pastor, progressive Christian pastor, an imam, an Islamic imam, and a Jewish rabbi come together and talk about this issue. And somewhere in between here, I'm going to drop the link for you if you want to check that out, because it is really an amazing conversation. We were very, very glad we had it. And we think you'd be very, very glad to hear about it. So, look, the last story of tonight.
Okay.
Reparations. I am sort of surprised, but really not really surprised at the way states and some private institutions are responding to reparations.
Okay.
And I'm surprised, I think, because I'm surprised at how many states are now moving forward in either convening a commission to study reparations. And this is just the states. This is not the federal government. But how many states are convening to do that, or that have already put forth, some type of what they call a reparations proposal, or are actually implementing reparations in a way. And I'm surprised because, like, I said, the number of states, it's like it's steamrolling. But I'm not surprised because of the confluence of events that I know pushed it to happen. Because there was no way that this issue of racial justice and racist capitalism, racial economic inequality could have continued to be ignored after last summer. I really think that last summer pushed this issue to a sense of urgency among a lot of state legislatures, at least the ones where there are enough Black people in their cities and states where Black folks were like, y'all gonna have to do something about this. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm looking at some of the cities and stuff that we have up here, and I put it this way: I can't allow a city council to tell me what reparations is.
Okay.
So first, let's start there. Who is to determine that these are reparations? Because that means that any city could say, well, we're going to put $1 million on the side for, that and that, and we'll just call it reparations. No. First of all, I think that that's a lot of these municipalities trying to. First of all, it's not done. First of all, I don't believe that it's done out of the sense of wanting to correct what was wrong.
Okay.
I believe that a lot of it is done, I think, because they're looking down the road. There's some changes that's getting ready to happen down the road. And so in order to prevent what they know will be the obvious resistance, then let's get ahead of this. For example, if I'm going to move all the Black people out of Cleveland in 15 years, because we got a plan for Cleveland, I know if we're going to do that, then there's going to be some resistance. So what do we do? Well, I know what we do. Why don't we just say that from the past discrimination, we're going to give each Black family $20,000, and we're going to call it reparations, and then let them know like our debt is paid now.
So wait, let me make sure I'm clear on what you're saying here, because we have an example of this, and I just want to make sure that you are talking about what they're doing in Evanston, Illinois.
Right.
So this was a big deal last week, I guess, where they say that in the likely first Chicago suburb of Evanston approves reparations for Black residents. That's what they're calling it.
That's what they're calling it.
Now, I agree with you. Reparations is not something for somebody else to. This whole argument, because you know how upset I get when people are like, well, we'll give you reparations and we'll pay for college and we'll do this, but we're not giving you a check. Why the fuck not? You took money, you stole it.
Right. And
you stole money, you stole land, you stole our lives. Why can't I have a check?
Reparations, and you're right, reparations to me has to be a negotiation.
Exactly.
This is not something that you just say, well, okay, like you just said, well, we'll do A, B, C, and D, but we're not giving you a check. There's your reparation. No, because you're still in the position of power.
Right.
And when you're repairing something, then the other party needs to be involved in the discussions.
And as far as we know, historically, every other group of people who have received reparations from this country or anywhere else around the world, they all received a check.
Right.
So how come but that's another discussion. So Evanston, Illinois has said that they will make reparations available. Let me increase that a little bit more. They will make reparations available to eligible Black residents. My spidey senses right there.
Who is eligible?
Who's eligible?
Right.
Who decides who's eligible?
Right.
What are the eligibility requiremements? I mean, we don't live in Evanston, so I guess the people in Evanston will know what the eligibility requirements are. But still, that word right there, big old red flag for me. But okay. They say that they will provide reparations to eligible Black residents for what it describes as harm caused by discriminatory housing policies and practices and inaction on the city's part. There's another red flag in this sentence. And it speaks exactly to what you said. Somebody else deciding what reparations are. The city, I did not mean to do that. But hey, it's a garden app, so I do need to check that out later because we're going to the garden shop tomorrow. Um, so the city of Evanston has decided that they are going to respond only to housing discrimination. Now, we don't know what period of time they're talking about. We don't know. We don't know anything other than this information. The city council voted 8-1 on Monday to approve the local reparations restorative housing program. An official confirmed to NPR over email, and these are the reparations, y'all. It will grant qualified households, there's that word again, up to $25,000. Up to $25,000 for down payments on home repairs, according to the city, and is the first initiative of a city reparations fund that was established in 2019. What's your thoughts? Come on.
Well, first of all,
give me the thoughts.
All right. Number one is I'm with you with all of the red flags. But this is what I think the qualifying part is.
What's the qualifying part?
You have to be a homeowner.
How about that?
You're not going to give me $25,000 if I'm renting. So right then and there, let you know that it's bullshit. Because they said, okay, for housing discrimination, right? We're going to give $25,000 for home repairs, right? Now, what if I don't want to repair my home? See, this is the problem I have with this being called reparations. Reparations isn't you telling me what I should use it for. So if I say, well, I'm going to give each family $25,000 because of housing discrimination, the reason why this doesn't make sense to me, because I can guarantee you right now that the city of Evanston, like a lot of these municipalities, have been discriminating against Black people in housing for a long, long time. So if my great-grandmother, say, for example, tried to get a house in Evanston, Illinois in 1935, and that house that she was trying to get in 1935, she couldn't get because of discrimination. That same house today is probably worth $1 million more.
Yep.
Right? Same house grandmom couldn't get, but that house is probably still there, right? So what are we going to do about that? Because what happened is that all of that equity, all of that wealth that could have been passed down to our family lineage from grandma being able to get that house has been denied us. $25,000 don't cut that.
It don't cut, and it can only be used for home repairs.
And it only can be used for home repairs. So I mean, so to me, it falls short right there because you had a lot of Black folks who, because of redlining and housing discrimination, had to rent. If they live in Illinois or live in the projects. So there is no way that you could call this reparations because you only got a small pool of Black people who are homeowners in Evanston. And that's what they mean by qualified. You know, because you're not going to get $25,000 people to the people living in the projects in Evanston because they couldn't get a house in Evanston, Illinois.
Exactly, and I knew that I was thinking Chicago. Why is that so familiar to me in this whole discussion about reparations? Because Chicago is the pretty much the case study, I guess, that Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote the essay, "The Case for Reparations," about in 2013, where he chronicled the history of housing discrimination against Black people in Chicago. So I dropped that also in the chat for you guys to access that. And so you can see why this little $25,000, no.
Who even came up with that? See, that's my problem. It's like, who even came up with that? And don't try to snow me over because you know, you threw together a couple of Black faces together, and and say, oh well, they came up with it, or you came up with a couple of Black faces who hurriedly put together some nonprofit think tank, some Black think tank that you going to have me believe that's on our side. And then all of a sudden now it's like, well, we didn't do it. They the ones that said, oh. So I mean, no. I think that that if Evanston, if it was in good faith, Kalamazoo, Oregon, I'm surprised Trenton ain't got no money. But I'm surprised they down there. But
You say Trenton
ain't got no money. But I'm surprised they down there. I guess it's the thought they count Trenton, huh?
I guess.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, but it's the thought that count. If we had the money, we would give it to y'all. Trenton, New Jersey, man.
We convened the commission and we voted that we'd like to give you reparations.
Right.
We're broke.
We're broke. But if they really was, and this is the thing. Now I'm gonna say this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be. I think this is the future.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that black people's best chance is going to be getting reparations from the states and stuff than the federal government.
Really?
Now I see this as being the beginning of I think the most viable way black people are going to get any kind of reparations. I think just like anything else, we would be probably have more leadway or gain more ground with these individual states or whatever pursuing reparations than you would with the federal government as a whole.
Yeah, I think I also agree with you there, but I think with the one caveat that we have to be better educated than to accept bull like this. That is this kind of stuff.
I agree. I mean, this is something. This is nothing but a carrot dangling in front of us on a stick.
That's all.
They want, and forgive my language, folks, but this is that they're hoping that we take the nigger rich avenue.
Yep.
That's what my grandfather used to call it, and get a couple of dollars over breakfast money, and feel like we're so poor. And see, this is where you're going to find a lot of these municipalities and stuff that's going to try to take advantage of our worsening condition when it comes to the wealth gap. They know how poor we're getting.
Yep.
They know what it's going to be like. And so I think that this is going. See, America is trans. Let's deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
America is transitioning. COVID is putting America on another different course. And the course that America is being put on is America is going, just like any corporation, in order to stay competitive, America is going to have to streamline. Now, what do I mean by that? Corporations know that they got to be competitive. They got to streamline. They got to lay people off. They got to cut expenses. They got to do all of these things in order what they claim in the corporate culture to remain competitive. China is smoking.
Yeah.
China is smoking. And China is right now, as we speak, building its alliances. They just signed a 25-year financial. They flew over. They making deals. All of the people that the United States shattered on.
That's right. They're all making
alliances with China. So that's now that don't mean that the United States is going to just accept that laying down. So what the United States is going to do is going to be like, look, we're going to have to streamline. Biden and already taking these $1 trillion thing for infrastructure and stuff. They know they got to pay for that. So what's happening is that black people, poor people, they know that it ain't gonna be enough money in the till for that. So you're gonna see more of this coming now, because what they get ready to tell us. And I like somebody in the chat said black people be vigilant, because what they're about to tell us is it's like your kids coming to you. They 18 years old, and you give your kids a check and be like, "Don't come back."
You think that's what it is? Like, here you go. Don't come back.
Don't come back, because see, it's about to get ugly in this country economically.
Yeah.
It's about to get ugly in this country economically, and they're all preparing for it. And so what it is that they say, okay, you know what? We can't carry 13% of our population. If this zero wealth thing comes within by 2030, that means there's going to be a lot of black people that's going to be dependent on the system. That's only 9-10 years from now.
Yeah.
So you know what? Let's spend a little money. Let's give them a little money. And then we're going to make it known to them that, look, this is America. So, you got to make your way. Now, we're going to give you this little bit of money. But, how you use it is on you. And if you blow it, this is where the meritocracy stuff comes back in. They always been part of that. America's always had this myth.
Right.
So the thing of it is that you'll have couple of Negroes that'll take that little bit of money and make something out of it. And they'll use those Negroes against the Negroes that didn't. So what happened is it's like, well, look, there's nothing left. So, so why didn't you do what they did? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So, what I'm saying is a little simplistic, but my message is the same. The American safety net is about ready to go.
Right. What little bit of it
right.
there
It's about ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Biden's throwing $2 trillion bill for infrastructure. You got this, and the economy. It's going to take at least a decade or more for this economy to get back to the way it was. Yep. So so they already preparing. They're like, man, we can't handle 13% of our population or more going down to welfare office. There's just no money.
No money that they want to.
Well, they're not going to cut military spending.
Right, exactly.
And that's where it would come from. They're not cutting that. So we know that's out the
That's right. Yep.
No Democrat, no Republican, ain't nobody messing with that. So what little bit of money that's going to be left for everybody else, they letting black people know, and the poor whites know, who don't get themselves straight from the opiates. They letting all of them know.
Don't come back.
Look, don't come back. Now look, y'all, the white folks, try to clean yourself up. We might have something for you. But even you're going to be left behind if you don't get yourself together. Black people, they letting us know right now. All right, y'all harping on this reparations, right? Okay, guess what? We give you this money. I don't care how y'all do it, but you better make it work. Because guess what? We getting ready to shut down food stamps. We getting ready to shut down all this other kind of stuff because you know what? The money's just not there. It's going to take years for this country to get back from COVID. COVID ain't over yet.
No, and from the way these people are acting, it's not going to be over anytime soon. Either.
Right.
So I think what you have to say is prescient because every time we talk to the economists on by any means necessary, they always say that the amount of money that this government is proposing to spend on any kind of relief package or even this infrastructure bill, not even close to what's needed.
No, it never was.
Not even close.
It never was.
To what's it's a drop in the bucket compared to what is really needed to spend to get this economy back on track, if that's what people really want to do. But the only way you can really get the economy back on track is to make sure that people have money so they can spend it and put it back in the economy. And they didn't want to do that, so that's not going to happen. So, yeah, I do think that, like Ricky Ryan said a little bit earlier, what you were saying about, these efforts in the states maybe being the best chance. I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But I think there's a good argument for them being the best chance that we might have for getting any kind of reparations, because I also believe that's a good argument for, as Ricky said, because the states act independently. And also, it's a good argument for pushing community control over all of the institutions in the state. I mean, look, if we have this little window in some of these states where some of the states are like, okay, fine, we don't want y'all protesting no damn more. Okay. It's like, oh, really? Well, here's what you can do. Here's what you can do then. If you don't want us to be in the streets again next summer, here's what you can do.
Right.
And instead of folks celebrating this stuff in Evanston and Kalamazoo and, Oregon and Trenton, that ain't
I've seen a lot of people, like post this around on social media, and they say, "Oh wow, look at this," "Oh wow," like it's a good thing, and and I'm like, but who's behind this? Who is doing this? Have any of you Negroes ever read the proposal? You know what I mean? Yeah, have you read the proposal? I mean, who came up with 25,000? Why is that the number? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that I think that we have to be leery of. We know America owes us, but the government, and I'm talking about the federal government, we are going to get even poorer. And the reason why I say the safety social net is going, because America is about ready to put more money in the defense budget because of China.
That's right. That's right.
So these the $700 billion a year they give the Pentagon, that's about to go up because they know that that's the only way they can compete with China now.
I think in the next probably 5 years, the defense budget, the published defense budget, it'll be easily close to $1 trillion.
No doubt, no doubt.
If it takes that long, I'll be surprised.
No doubt.
Easily $1 trillion.
And because they understand, see, the white man's place in the world is slipping. If we looked at the last, I think I pointed it out to you. China, the Canada, the EU, Great Britain, and the United States, all white Western countries, have all joined together to sanction China, right? Now, Canada was supposed to be the nice white folks. They were supposed to, they were supposed to be the ones that just, but they joined along with the EU, with the UK, with the United States and all against China. So again, it just goes back to, we Negroes are the only ones that talk about unity don't mean nothing. But white folks know when unity means something. And they they joined together with socialist white countries against China. So they ain't got no problem with socialism when the face of it's white and it's going against China. So they ain't got no problem working with them. So you know what I mean? So they understand. They looking at it differently than you and I looking at it. They looking at it as they seeing the global shift. And they seeing, man, that nothing lasts forever. I don't care what it is. Nations come and nations go. Empires rise, empires fall. That's just the way of the world.
Right.
So they see that the twilight. They see the sun setting. And so what's happening is now you got nice countries like Denmark talking about, we don't want no more black people. We don't want no more Muslims.
We don't want no more Muslims.
Right. We don't want no more brown people.
We
don't want no more brown people. You got you got Canada now starting to puff their chests up a little bit because they join. Now you got Great Britain, even though they're not part of the EU, they still throwing down with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have to understand, man. Stop joking around so damn much. That these global shifts that we're seeing is going to affect us all. And at the center of all of it is Africa. That's
right.
That is
right.
the prize, people. That's Africa. That's the reason why the EU. That's why the waning Western colonial imperialist powers and the rising Asian power dynamics. Man, look. Africa is the prize.
Yep.
And we're sitting up here laughing and we joking and we acting like nothing. We ain't taking nothing for serious. But this is the prize, and this is going to affect us all. If you have the United States increase their war budget, and you got and tightening the belt here even further, then that's going to affect all of us here. You know what I mean? So so I don't know, man. I mean, maybe I'm a grouch or something, but I see I got a feeling and a sense of what's going to happen. And I mean, man, these are some serious times that we're about ready to face.
These are incredibly serious times, and you're absolutely right about Africa being the prize because, look, the United States government has known that for a long time. So has the government of France, Germany, Belgium, every other European nation, Canada, Australia, every other settler colonial country that had some hand in the colonization of Africa in the first place. They still have an imprint there. That's why we do our show with Milton Alamati.
Exactly.
We're going to do that show next week. Next Friday, we'll have Milton Alamati on to talk about some more imprint of imperialism on the continent. Right now, France still has troops in what country?
Niger.
In Niger, still has troops in Niger. France just bombed Mali.
Right, Mali, yeah.
Killed a bunch of civilians. The United States has advisors and private contractors training people in Mozambique. Total, what is that? A French company? Total is the French gas company. That has an enormous and it's a cooperation. A cooperative of what is it? France, the EU nations, not all of them, but some of the EU nations.
I think it's France, Germany, or something.
Exxon Total is how it's pronounced in Mozambique has a huge gas exploration and extraction project,
and the people
in Mozambique. The people are being slaughtered over it. Exxon Mobil the United States has operations in Mozambique that they've been fueling this violence in Mozambique over. There's what's going on in Tigray. There's what's going on in Nigeria.
Right.
I mean, Uganda, the Congo, and this is not because Africans.
What's that? The Central African Republic.
Right. The Congo.
Right.
I mean, this is not because Africans don't know how to govern themselves. It is because, like we said on, what was that, our first show here on Black Power Media, when we talked about why we're Pan-Africanists, it is because the African leaders who were internationalists, who were Pan-Africanists, and who were socialists, who fought for and gained the independence of African nations out from under colonial rule, were either driven out by coup or military action or assassinated by the U.S. and its allies.
Right.
Why? Because those former colonial powers wanted the resources under the feet of the African people. So they've been able, because these people have convinced us that we don't have anything to do with those Africans over there. They've convinced us to ignore the abuse and the oppression and the suffering of the African people. They propped up these greedy, capitalist, puppet leaders in Africa to keep the people under control, to keep them poor and oppressed, while the Western and European nations and the multinational corporations strip the resources, minerals, diamonds, everything bare and pay the people practically nothing. And when they rise up and say no more, then they start shooting.
Right. Yep. And that's basically, I think, what was it? One of your guests is still caught down there in Mozambique.
Yeah, we just talked to a journalist today in Mozambique, or yesterday rather, in Mozambique, or by any means necessary, about the situation there. It's very, very tenuous and dangerous. So we got to understand, we don't have a lot of time to waste. We don't have a lot of time to get our act together. Like everybody, like Ricky always say all the time, Ricky Ryan, organize, because look, if we're just in this just to be entertained and for entertainment, then I just think that we really need to re-examine why we even in these spaces. Because if we're not using these spaces in order to affect change in our world, then we're in trouble, because everybody else is serious. Everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else is serious.
Everybody. And the thing is, as we wrap this up, and when we say that everybody else is serious, we're not just talking about the imperialists, because like you already said, of course they've been serious,
right,
for the entire and the crazy thing is, the United States is what, 200?
Well, it's probably older than that now.
What I don't know, a couple hundred years old,
maybe about 400
years
old,
something like that. Imperialism, Western imperialism, has been a thing in the world, with European powers forming alliances from the papal bull of what I can't remember what year that was, 16 something or 1592, I think it was, that divided the world up in hemispheres. Some Catholic priest just decided this part of the world belongs to Portugal, this part of the world belongs to Spain.
But they've done that during the time of the Berlin Conference, when they did that with Africa.
Yep.
But they also did that after World War II. And in World War II, when Russia and Russia first did it with Hitler.
That's right.
And where they was talking about spheres of influence.
Yep.
And then after the demise, after the defeat of Nazism, after the defeat of Germany, Nazism's still here. After the defeat of Nazi Germany, then the Allied powers and the Soviet Union, which fought on the side of the Allies but wasn't really a part of them, then they decided that, hey, look, this is going to be our sphere of influence, and Russia said this is going to be ours. So this is where you had the Iron Curtain and all this other kind of stuff come down. You know, so the Europeans always done that. They've all this, you know, the Monroe Doctrine was that.
Oh,
You know, Monroe Doctrine. You know how anytime you come over here in our hemisphere, that's an act of war. So I mean, so they've always what was that other one they had? Divine Destiny and
Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, it's just the same thing under another name.
They just make up stuff. They just make up names for the same, you know, settler colonial ideology.
But my point, getting back to it, is the fact that, you know, they've always been, you know, these folks are serious, and I like what you said about the nation states. Man, look, if you don't believe that these folks are serious, then you haven't paid attention to that January 6th insurrection.
Man,
I tell people all the time, while they in between there laughing and joking, I tell people all the time, I said, you just saw a glimpse of what's to come. The more desperate that it starts to get in this country, the more that we have this, somebody had named it one time, this scarcity mentality. The more that you have the scarcity mentality, the more you see the proliferation of these militias and everything. It's gonna get ugly. And so, you know, folks, if you on this side of the fence, you got to learn survival skills. You got to learn how to be able to learn. You have to learn skills, and trust me, Jackie and I are just not telling you something we don't do. I mean, you have to learn, man, skills that you never probably had to learn before. You're going to have to learn defense. You're going to have to learn how to organize outside of organizations. We're going to have to learn how to be able to connect with each other on a paramilitary front. I mean, we're going to have to have these things. You're going to have to open up your household to comrades. You know what I mean? You know, and things. I mean, this is the revolution. You know, this is what we say we want. This is what we say we want. Exactly. This is what we say we're about. You know, we're going to have to be able to get these skills together, because look, COVID already showed us, man, that it don't take much for them shelves to empty.
Not a lot,
you know,
at all.
COVID showed us, man, like, look, you know, so we're going to have to do the basics of prepping, the basics of you know, defense. Everybody learn to defend themselves. Everybody learn how, you know, get things like shortwave radios. Learn how to chemically proof your house, and all kind of stuff. You know, but the main thing is that you gotta have stockpiles. You gotta put stuff away. I mean, y'all know what I'm talking about, man. You know, so you know, we gotta stop taking these things for granted. We gotta stop taking, like, the United States of America, and that the world is going to be the same way that it always was. Right. Things change, and usually all you got to do is look at you know what really taught me about how things can flip. When I was coming up, and during the time of the Bosnian Serbian War, and in Yugoslavia. Now here you had Serbians and Bosnians. Bosnians was a Muslim population. Right. Serbians and the Croatia, right? All of them living together. But because they had a strong man, Tito, who was in charge of the whole country. But then one day, after Tito, was toppled, all of a sudden now, that glue that held all that together, and we see these in a lot of societies like that. Then all of a sudden, man, you had the Balkan Wars, you know, and the Bosnians. Now this is the thing. When the Serbs and was going after the Bosnians, you know, people, oh, well, that's horrible. But what people don't talk about is the history of Serbia towards the Bosnians go way back because of Turkey, of the Ottoman Empire. So these were old grudges, man, that was held on the Bosnians who became Muslim because of the Ottomans, when Ottomans came through there. So I mean, and you know, so the Ottomans did some atrocities, you know, and I mean, here it is, generations later. These people ain't forgot that. So then, when it was time, when they came into power, or when they had the opportunity, let's put it that way, it was time to settle some scores. Man, you know what I mean? In fact, Salahuddin, who was one of the great Muslim commanders during the Crusades.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that ran some of the Crusaders out of, the Holy Land, Salahuddin, and he was a Kurd. He wasn't, he was a Kurd.
Uh-huh.
In World War One, when the British went to Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name of the British commander, but the British commander went to Salahuddin's grave. Now, mind you, the Crusades was what? 1100s or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, just to show you how people don't forget. After World War One, 19-something, 1920, I don't know, whatever was over with. And this British general,
Mm-hmm.
when he went to Palestine, he went straight to Salahuddin's grave. And he stood on Salahuddin's grave. He said, Salahuddin, guess what? We're back.
Wow.
Salahuddin been dead for centuries.
and doesn't that show you how white people don't never forget?
He told Salahuddin, we're back.
They don't ever forget.
So we can laugh and joke. We could take this not serious and stuff like that. But your enemies, they're serious.
They've been serious for a while. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of organizing to do, a lot of education, a lot of educating to do. But that's why we are here to offer our humble contribution, and we hope it serves a purpose for you. And we appreciate you a lot. If you haven't liked the video, like the video. Yeah, we hope you haven't been here the whole time not liking the video while you've been watching. But thank you so much.
67.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's
okay,
not so
good.
bad.
That's good. All right.
We scared
cool.
some people away, but
that's all right. That's always gonna happen. We ain't doing something right.
Nah,
if we don't scare some people away, we are not doing something right.
Hey, yo, ask Lisa Callis, I mean, we got before we came to Black Power Media, folks used to get on and stuff and and think they was in Disneyland.
Right.
And then before
We're
you know it, man,
my God.
you see the numbers drop. That scared them, ran their asses up out of here. Because if you ain't serious, you can't sit around us for so long.
We laugh and joke sometimes, but we understand these are serious times.
If you ain't serious, you ain't gonna hang around long.
That's our show for tonight. We really appreciate y'all for sticking around, for spending time with us, for spending your Dope Friday date night with Uncle Baba Luqman and the People's Prophetess, Auntie Jackie Luqman.
Exactly. People's Prophetess.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember all the titles.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I'm going to try to remember it.
Hey, also, our newsletter will be out Sunday. So make sure that you check our newsletter out, subscribe to our newsletter, and and just hook us up. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, you can find Luqman Nation on Patreon.com as well. Patreon.com/Luqman Nation. We will see you next week. You all be good to each other. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.
Oh, I forgot one
more thing.
Yes. Please. The Waters of Healing will be on Saturday.
That's right.
I know, because a couple guys, because we didn't broadcast last week.
Right.
But that's only because, we, it's a new product. So we had to take time out to see where we were at, what we could do. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
So we will have an episode out this Saturday.
Yes, for the Waters of Healing, the men's podcast by men, about men, for men's healing. So stay tuned. You've got 15 minutes to go get your snack and get ready for the premiere of episode 7.
Episode 7.
Of The Last Dope Intellectual with our girl, Dr. Sharice Burton-Stelly. Thank you for joining us on your Dope Friday date night on Black Power Media. Peace, y'all. It always takes me so much time to get back to this page.
How they came and they on top when I'm a mile up. I had them on long before I dial up. How they came and they on top when I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line after we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify and name the best from my region.